many of us are familiar with the affectionate term Bard family. For Bonnie Marcus, this expression is altogether fitting. Her Annandale saga took root at age 5 when she visited her sister, Laurel Marcus Phillips, class of '57, on campus. During her childhood, Bonnie remembers attending a Blythewood auction at which her family purchased a set of blue and white plates they still own. Laurel married Roger Phillips, class of '53, whose iconic sculpture, 3 discs in a rectangle, is installed here on campus. Over the years, many members of Bonnie's family came to study at Bard. That 2 of her nephews, a grandniece, and 2 cousins are counted in the ranks of Bard alumni is a great source of pride to Bonnie. In 1967, Bonnie reappeared in Annandale-on-Hudson as an undergraduate. Her proclivity for engaging others in community building was, and remains, a hallmark of her character. She became Bard's first female student body president, spearheading the inauguration of the college's coeducational residences. She was instrumental in helping to establish the film program as part of a student initiative. A psychology major, she submitted a feminist senior project on sex role stereotypes. Her advisor, Stuart Levine, said her work was, quote, well ahead of her time and done with a diligence and rare commitment. Her familial ties to the institution expanded when Remer Klein, the college's 13th president, officiated over her marriage to her first husband, Ken Daly, class of '71. Hardwired to be an advocate for the underrepresented, Bonnie went on to receive her master's degree from the Hunter College School of Social Work and was clinical director of Putnam Northern Westchester Women's Resource Center for the next 7 years. She took her valuable experience working with youth back to Bard in 1986, becoming Senior Associate Director in the Office of Admission. Bonnie and Director of Admission Mary Backlund formed a fast friendship. Their shared collaborative natures and passion for the college and its mission earned Bard a prominent reputation in the admissions community. Bonnie had a compass the rest of us relied upon. When she noticed nuanced inconsistencies during an application review, she'd declare, there's a story here, and she began to dig for the truth. She discovered quite a few diamonds in the rough. Backlund recalls, she could be bold, even loud, in defense of a candidate, but she was always fair and inclusive. During an admission event in the 1990s, Bonnie met her current husband, Ted O'Neill, then Dean of Admission at the University of Chicago, now Senior Admissions Advisor at Bard College, Berlin. Bonnie's talent for building relationships with and between high school counselors, college colleagues, and applicants matches her commitment to President Leon Botstein's progressive ideas. She led by example and trained staff to appreciate the necessity of keeping an open mind. Few have been more steadfast in their work for this college. As she puts it, Bard is a place in which I truly believe, and I am proud to be part of the history of its mission. We look forward to seeing Bonnie on campus yet again.
Thank you, Leon, Board of Trustees, Casey, Board of Governors, graduates, and Janet. Unfortunately, I didn't read Janet's citation before today, and I'm afraid I'm going to repeat some of the things she said, so you can have the opportunity of catching up on some of the same things. My connection to Bard has been almost lifelong, going on 65 years. As Janet mentioned, I come from a Bard family. My oldest sister, Laurel Marcus Phillips, and her husband, Roger Phillips, the sculptor of the Red Circle sculpture outside of the Student Center. My 2 nephews, Matt Phillips and David Phillips, and my great niece, Susanna Matthews, a graduate of the Bard High School, Early College, Manhattan, and Bard Annandale. We all deeply value our Bard education and experience. I was 5 years old when we took my big sister Laurel to college. I remember spending a weekend with her, sleeping in South Hall, a residence I lived in my junior and senior years. I loved hanging out in the coffee shop, which was in Hageman at the time, with her friends. I do remember the auction in Blythewood, selling items from the mansion. And I remember that her graduation at the end of June 1957 was stiflingly hot. When it came time for me to search for a college, I visited a number of campuses, but ultimately applied to Bard early decision and was admitted. Entering Bard in 1967 was an exciting time to be a college student. The drinking age was 18, and I spent many a night at Adolph's dancing, drinking a whiskey sour, and eating a Blitzburger. Shotgun by Junior Walker and Respect by Aretha Franklin were our favorite songs. The Beatles' album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, had just been released the May before I entered Bard. The Vietnam anti-war movement was growing in leaps and bounds. One semester, we rarely went to our classes since we were striking over the war. I remember hearing Timothy Leary speak from the back of Albee. Other important cultural figures at Bard during my time were Allen Ginsberg, Robert Motherwell, B.F. Skinner. I'm sure there were many more that I can't remember. I was on campus for the 2 drug raids while Larry Quinlan was sheriff of Dutchess County, and G. Gordon Liddy, one of the convicted Watergate burglars, and Daddy G in one of Steely Dan's songs, was the prosecutor for Dutchess County, and even lived to see him many years later sipping scotch at the bar at the Black Swan in Tivoli. I just missed being arrested by one night after breaking up with my boyfriend and returning to Tewksbury. I was a psychology major, and Stuart Levine was my advisor and mentor. My senior project was a research project on sexual stereotypes, a radical topic at the time. For the many years Stuart was dean of the college, my project was on one of the top shelves of his office bookcase. The last time I was at Bard this past November, Stuart and I had a night reminiscing over pizza. I'm so glad we had that night. My first marriage, note first marriage, was to Kenneth Daly, another Bard graduate, and the wedding was officiated by Reamer Klein, the then president of Bard at Llewellyn Rogers' house. Returning to Bard to work in the admission office was a perfect fit for me after being the clinical director of a women's center in Putnam County and spending most of my days in a windowless office helping women sort out their lives. Working with Mary Backlund, Jane Bryan, Janet Stetson, who have become among my closest friends, as well as many other wonderful colleagues. It was more a mission than a job. Besides, it was a lot of fun. My job has enabled me to make close friends in Bard and the college counseling community and even find a husband. Though I have been reminded many times over the years that Leon didn't want to hire me. I was the old Bard. I do hope he's revised his opinion. So working at Bard allowed me to do so many different things on and off campus: international, domestic travel, presentations on a variety of topics, counseling, safe sex workshops, signing L&T classes and roommates, hiring committees. I remember interviewing David Schein before he was hired. So representing Bard has been immensely satisfying. I always had something new, interesting, and meaningful to talk about with students and counselors. Even after thousands of presentations, I always found my enthusiasm for Bard renewed as I spoke about the college with students and saw their eyes light up. The students I would meet were creative, independent thinkers, young people who wanted to make the world a better place. This has kept me positive and optimistic about our world, even in the face of a bleak political landscape. When I married Ted O'Neill 21 years ago, he was the dean of admission at the University of Chicago. We met in New York City representing our respective institutions. Leaving the Hudson Valley was very hard for me, as I think of the Hudson Valley as my home. But Ted was worth it, and I moved to Chicago and have been working from here for the past 20 years. Ultimately, we even managed to recruit Ted to work for Bard in Berlin. Has Bard changed? Of course. It is better in so many ways. The core has remained, but we have evolved and grown in wonderful ways under Leon's guidance. Bard's mission of a private college for the public good is even more important today as demagoguery and right-wing zealots try to take over and undermine our democracy and perpetuate systemic racism. I thank Bard for this honor, and I will always support the college, but now in a new way.
I now call upon Joan Tower,